Good evening, and welcome to our virtual learning faculty chat. Excited to see so many of you with us this evening. My name is Doreen. I'm the Associate Provost for Virtual Learning. We also have some updates this evening from Jasmine. Jasmine, would you like to do your introduction?
Sure, thank you, Doreen. Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see all of you on this evening. I'm Jasmine Simpson, Interim Dean of Academic Affairs for Virtual. Are there any actually new people that didn't attend maybe the last faculty chat, just so I can get an idea here? Maybe you can just type in the chat if you are new, so I know what information to go a little bit more in detail with when I'm up to talk, and perhaps what information to back off on. So feel free to indicate that in the chat. Thank you, Doreen.
All right, thank you. Also this evening we have Michelle.
Hello, everybody. Associate Dean of Virtual Learning. Good to be here.
And also Emily.
Hi, everyone. I am joining here, and I'm glad you all can make it.
Thank you. And our esteemed guests this evening are Dr. Doherty. Cindy, would you like to do a quick introduction? Up, I don't have your audio. Let me.
I bet I have to unmute myself.
There you got it.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Glad to be talking with you tonight later on. So as I'm sure I know many of you.
Thank you. Also this evening we have Carol. Carol, would you like to try your microphone, say hello, and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Carol Kerper from Disability Services. I serve both the Harrisburg and the virtual campuses.
Excellent. Welcome. Now, for our virtual learning faculty, you're welcome to either type in the chat that you'd like to use your mic to do your introduction. That way I can kind of keep an order going as far as who would like to talk to introduce themselves, or if you just want to type your introduction into the chat, I will share with the group who's joining this evening. So either type in the chat that you would like to use your mic to introduce yourself, and I'll call out your name, or you're welcome to just type right into the introduction in the chat area, and I will share with everyone who's joining this evening. We have Rosalina joining us. She's a Spanish professor joining this evening from Harrisburg. We have Carrie, who is a virtual learning CIS faculty and VLFA chair. We also have Rich joining this evening. Rich is a business faculty. He says hello to everyone. Who else do we have joining this evening? I know we have more than that. I can see them. We have Caroline. Caroline is a history faculty for virtual learning and also the child chair. Welcome, Caroline. We have Kazim. Kazim is our virtual learning faculty for construction management. Valerie's joining us. Valerie is our interim virtual learning site coordinator and also a professor of English.
Doreen, this is Lise Pauline. I'm on the phone, so I can't type. Virtual English.
Excellent. Thank you. Good evening, Lise Pauline. You are always on the go, but you're always here. I love it.
It's these kids, I tell you.
You're in every Zoom, and you're here, there, and everywhere. I love it. Do we have anyone else that I missed for an introduction this evening? I see we have Molly. Molly, would you like to introduce yourself? All right. Okay. So with that, let's get going. First, I just kind of like to share with you, so in September was my first 6-month benchmark at HACC, so I'm excited to say, yay, I made it through the first 6 months. And I thought I'd just kind of share with you, a little bit about what did I do in my first 6 months at Hack and in the position, and share with you just kind of some insights as far as things that I'm looking forward to. Then we're also going to have updates from the other areas within virtual learning and from some of our colleagues. And then we'll have an opportunity to do some open dialogue with our guest presenters. And we'll wrap it up with some next steps and some areas of support for our virtual learning students and their success. So, I enjoyed very much so, and I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to interact with many of you over those first 6 months. So I enjoyed engaging with many of our virtual learning faculty, our staff, our students. I had an opportunity to do some team building with our virtual learning unit. This summer, everyone did the DISC profile, and we learned a little bit about ourselves. We got to learn about each other, our strengths, and how those strengths contribute to our team. Cavill from HR, she came in and kind of led us through that professional development opportunity and that team building for us as a unit. So that was very valuable. We got to learn a little bit more about each other and bond. Also this summer, I had a lot of conversations with institutional research, and that team is just fabulous, I have to say. I love data. I'm a kind of a data nerd, so I greatly enjoyed talking with them. Each of the team members provided a lot of information for me about Hack, about our students. They assisted me with putting together and distributing the SWOT survey. They assisted me with identifying our gateway classes, which are our top enrolled courses that connect across most of our programs within Hack at the institution. I also had an opportunity to meet and engage with and find potential areas for collaboration with CDI, the library, workforce development, our D2L experts, and those that are representatives at the company. I got to meet some of them in person, as well as our monthly meetings that we have with D2L. I had an opportunity to meet with our finance representatives, which is Rich Cardamone and Brenda, the entire student affairs team. I met with a lot of the student affairs members individually, but I had an opportunity also to meet the entire student affairs unit across the institution at one of their college-wide meetings. Disability services, Carol's here this evening, and I'm sure she can share with you. We had a great about 2-3 hour conversation with disability services. The entire team talked about ways that we could better collaborate to support and serve those students that are working with disability services and are enrolled in our virtual learning class. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about that maybe this evening, but as we continue to move forward, how do we make sure that our virtual classes are accessible and that we're providing those students the support that they need to be successful at Hack? Had opportunities to get tours and engage with Kyle at the bookstore. When I did campus tours, I visited other bookstore locations as well. Got to meet with the OIST team, many of them individually, testing and tutoring. Had a great conversation and tour with Elisa. Met with all the cabinet members. I got to attend many of the academic affairs leaders meetings. I got to go to those, meet with a lot of academic affairs leaders, just one-on-one. Met with each campus leader, did campus tours. We had opportunities to build partnerships. Jasmine and I went over to the Commonwealth Cyber Academy. We got a tour of that facility, which is very cool. They're in the process right now of building a hydroponics lab. And they have a mobile hydroponics lab and also one that's at the facility. And we're going to be having our spring retreat at CCA. So for our April virtual learning retreat, I already booked us there. We'll be at that location. We'll get to see CCA. Their hydroponics lab will be up and running at that point. So we'll get to see their facility and the work that they're doing with virtual students. Great building partnerships with community members, attending community service events, building relationships with sponsors, donors, and then many of the events that I got to attend in the past 6 months as well. So that's a little bit of what I've been doing, really just kind of listening, learning, looking for areas that we can build collaborations, potential partnerships. Who can we work with so that our virtual learning students and our faculty and our staff are successful. So that's been my fun, and it has been fun for the past 6 months. As I've Carrie's kindly posted for me in the VLFA site my 2 top priorities. In addition to completing the virtual learning strategic plan this semester, my top 2 priorities going into this academic year are really around student success and retention, and also for me to promote virtual learning faculty, staff, and students. So I think that again, with your help, I'm looking forward to sharing the great work that our faculty are doing in the classroom, in the communities. I'm looking forward to sharing, again, the same thing for our staff, how our staff are also working with our students that help them to be successful. Emily and her work that they're doing with the VLSAC students, highlighting our students in virtual learning, our graduates from virtual learning. So we need to collectively share our stories and what we're doing to create awareness about what I know you're doing every day, the great work that's going on in virtual learning. We just have to share that more with others and in our community. So I am asking for, again, as much information as you're willing to share so that I can share that also when I'm out in the community. If I can help us with new partnerships, new connections, if I know that you're involved in a particular professional organization or community organization, that just helps me to connect individuals to our virtual learning programs and offerings. Also, student success and retention. I listed just a few things there, but as you know, everything that we do, I think we are doing great at engaging our students. I think we always have opportunities to look to improve. How can we build community? How can we ensure that the students are successful in our classes? I don't have listed here, but again, the Gateway classes that we had conversations about at our retreat, that's also a main focus for me and priority over this academic year, so that we can kind of see what approaches are working, what can we do better to make sure that students are successful in the Gateway classes, but what we learn from those practices in the Gateway will help us to apply those best practices to the rest of our virtual learning courses to continue to improve student success and retention. All right, and I have the links here. I keep sharing them, but I've only gotten a few highlights. And for the bio section, I know that each year you as faculty submit your end of academic year reflections, share what you've done through those self-assessments. And so please share with me now what you did even last year, if it's relevant for me to know, again, so that I can make connections. So if you already have what you did last year and you want to share some of that work, or it's still relevant this year, you know, just kind of cut and paste. I'm not asking everybody to, you know, kind of start from scratch or I don't want to make it an extra piece of work for you or an extra project, but even just go in, like I said, cut and paste the things that you'd like to share, things that you're doing in your communities, things that you're doing at HAC, and cut and paste it for me, if you would, into the bio section. All right. Any questions for me on that? Yeah, Caroline, shoo. Yes, Caroline, you know, you are just as busy. I know that you and everyone online, and particularly in virtual learning, we're always busy, go, go, go. But yes, I've enjoyed it very much. And I didn't have the opportunity to introduce previously Molly. Molly's one of our bio faculty. And she's saying she had some problems earlier with her microphone. So great. Hi, Molly. All right, next we have Emily.
Yes, thank you, Doreen. I have a few updates related to enrollment and student affairs related to virtual learning. One of those updates is that HAC had an open house at all of our campus locations last week on October 17th. And at all of the campus open houses, we had virtual learning representatives. So staff members were there, we had students there, and the numbers on the screen there really are representing the total of prospects that were at the event and how many virtual learning students we spoke to that were prospects. And one thing that I like that our campuses are doing is they are specifically counting prospects and not their mom or dad or brother or someone who comes with them. So these numbers, so for instance, Gettysburg, they had a total of 14 individuals at their open house, and our virtual learning table was guessing that we saw about 7 of those students to talk about virtual learning. Harrisburg is always the largest open house. We had 138 in attendance there and spoke to about 26 virtual learning students. So you can see the numbers there. In total, we spoke to around 72 virtual learning prospective students at the open house. And we observed that students came very prepared. They had very specific questions about virtual learning. So we were glad to be able to have a table at all of those campuses. Another update, and you probably received an email from me just yesterday announcing our virtual learning Jumpstart Your Success events for the winter and spring semesters. So just as a reminder, for Jumpstart events, they are held right before the semester starts, ideally for new virtual learning students to help them successfully transition into the online environment. So we, for the first time, will be offering a Jumpstart event before the winter term, and then also numerous ones before the spring term. All of the dates are posted along with more information at hac.edu/jumpstart. But one of the key takeaways that I like to announce about the Jumpstarts is a big part of the event is having a faculty-student panel. And we send out a survey to our attendees every year, and students just love hearing from their future instructors or their peers. So that's a key part of our event. That long Google Doc spreadsheet is the sign-up sheet where you can plug your name in if you're able to volunteer on the faculty panel for the Jumpstart events. Another update, which I think many of you will be glad to hear, is the electronic graduation waiver form. Well, actually, the graduation waiver form will be turning electronic. It will be turning into an e-form here very soon. I know that Janita, our registrar, is working on that form right now, so I don't have an exact date, but that's just great news, especially for our unit that needs to do so much of our work online or with students at a distance. So look for more information about that in the future. Another update, and this was included in the email that I sent out to all virtual learning faculty members yesterday, is that Every year, Virtual Learning has an awards ceremony in the spring where we recognize students, faculty, staff, just a great time to come together and celebrate. And part of the celebration is giving out awards. So every year, we're looking for nominations of students in your classes that you are observing that they are a standout student, or maybe they've overcome some type of difficulty and have gone through quite the transformation, or stellar seniors. Those are the three categories we have for student nominations, and they can be students from the summer 2018, fall 2018, winter 2019, and spring 2019 terms. So in the past, we typically sent this Survey Monkey out in the spring, but we really want to make sure we're recognizing students and instructors throughout the whole year and not just the spring term. So please make some time to nominate, even if it's just one of your students, and that can go towards our award ceremony in the spring. Just related to this, it's more student information, but I think that it's important for you as faculty members to just know some things that are being sent out to students. I know a lot of times faculty members come to me and say, what's going on? What's being offered to virtual learning students? I'd really like to know. So something that just recently went out is a fall 2018 virtual learning student satisfaction survey, where we're asking students for feedback, for ideas, and the link is posted here in the slide too. So any extra promotion we can send out to students to encourage them to fill out that survey will be great. Another thing more so related to students is during the fall and spring semesters, our virtual learning unit sends out a news and updates email every other week. We call them bi-weekly virtual learning emails. They go out to all virtual learning students. As long as a student is taking a virtual learning class, they'll receive the virtual learning student news and updates email. Just today, I worked with Roger Garber to post in our D2L news area where the link to those emails will be posted. So you as faculty members should have access to the email that was just sent out earlier this week, as well as past emails that were sent out. So if you are interested in knowing what's going on, what's available to students, we encourage you to promote it to your students. That is best accessed in D2L in the homepage news area. So it's a news area that's off on the right-hand side. And the last update that I have is I currently advise the Virtual Learning Student Advisory Council. So essentially our Virtual Learning Student Government Association. It's similar in some ways. And we are interested in adding a co-advisor, ideally a faculty member. It would be the first time we would have a co-advisor. So really, if that's something that's of interest to you, I'd love to have a conversation to find out what that may look like. It would be a form of college service, and the VLSAC really is active throughout the whole academic year. So if you're interested, please send me an email, ejfox@hack.edu. And I see there were a few comments here in the chat. I just want to make sure. Okay, just looks like a few comments. Any questions? I know there's a lot packed into tonight, so I don't want to take too much of this time. But if there's any quick questions, feel free to put them in the chat there.
Can I have a quick question on the
Yes.
microphone? This is Caroline. You had mentioned your very first bullet, so I've been waiting. You had some questions from the students that you interacted with. What were in a nutshell, what were the nature of the prospects' questions about virtual and what we have to offer?
So the most common question that we got as a unit was, hey, I'm interested in the nursing program. How much of the nursing program can I do online before I need to go to campus? That I would actually say was our most common question that we received. So that was one. Hopefully that answers it. I mean, the general admission questions as well. How do they apply? What programs are online?
Emily, would you mind if I interject
Sure.
for a moment?
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
I attended at the York campus, Caroline, and another question that I got was, what classes can I take online? That was a very popular question among pretty much anyone that I saw. And they just wanted a list, maybe perhaps rather than going through our website to try to truncate that to see exactly what classes they could take online, because I know it's a little bit more difficult on our website. So I had talked with E.C. Ayewo, who is our admissions counselor, and he had indicated we're going to work together to try to maybe generate a list that the representatives can have at the tables for folks who are wishing to know exactly what classes are available, and just say, of course, that it's subject to change because we look to add and take away classes, all the time, depending on the part of term. But that was a very popular question that I think I received consistently from people that I talked with. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thanks, Jasmine. Any other questions before I hand it back to Doreen?
All right. Thank you. Jasmine.
Oh, thanks. I forgot I was up right next. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm so excited to be with you this evening. So I know that we had a few people that may have attended last time. So this might be some repetitive information, but I'll try to kind of breeze this a little bit. And if you have questions, we can discuss them further. So just kind of preparing for this kind of next cycle registration, and perhaps your advisees will be having questions about courses that they'll be taking, or perhaps they've already contacted you already. So winter and spring is kind of at one time. It opens for veterans on next week on the 29th, and then for continuing students on the 31st, and then November 12th for new students. So that's another piece, and I'm wrapping up the schedule as we speak. Thankfully, we were able to get that solidified, of course, before the start. I know there tends to be questions about, well, who's listed as staff? And so that's always the goal, is to try to make sure that is solidified before registration opens live. So students, of course, have access to view the schedule right now and can kind of make some projections or predictions about what they might want to take, and then go from there. So that's going to be really, really hot next week in terms of the schedule. One of the things we're attempting to do is really increase the communications that students receive related to our evaluations of our courses. So I kind of am working with faculty and talking with them, and then reviewing and going through the evaluation cycle this past September, and a little bit before then. One of the things that was pretty, I think, resounding in some of the communications was that, we don't have, we have low rates in terms of return rates from students. So we're really trying to increase the rates for students in terms of them completing the evaluation. A lot of times I will hear from students who have maybe a concern about a class. And I'll suggest, of course, talking with the faculty member first and foremost. Sometimes it's just a matter of one-to-one communication and not via email. I'm just picking up the phone or connecting with someone through Zoom to get questions answered, just to kind of get clarification. A lot of times email can get misconstrued, and you can go back and forth and just still be, unclear. So I encourage students first and foremost to reach out to faculty, but I also encourage them, if there's really something that they, heavily thought was just egregious, or that they didn't, care for, or thought some adjustments could be made that perhaps, and they didn't want to talk with a faculty member, that the evaluation could be another tool. But just really encourage students in general to complete that evaluation for faculty, so that it helps them to understand what's working well, perhaps what areas they might want to make changes to and adjustments to, and go from there. I know that helps to influence faculty self-assessments that they write for the evaluation cycle. So this is something that was really important to me. I reached out to colleagues in our PA Affinity consortium group across our online community colleges in the state. And so many of them shared some kind of things that they're doing to increase success rates. And so I'm working with Roger Garber. I work with Kim Kelsey in institutional research. And as you all know, Roger Garber is our D2L guru. So we determined that perhaps a widget inside of D2L would be ideal for faculty to place in there. And also to have an announcement. The announcement may be changed slightly because it does take up a lot of real estate on that homepage, and we want students, of course, to be able to find their courses quickly. So there will be some adjustments to that, but that is pretty prominent on the course page when you log into D2L, and there's a reason for that. And I hope that prominence still stays there, and that students still are able to look at that, and of course it helps them to remember that they have that option if they wish to provide that feedback. But of course we want faculty to place a widget in their course and encourage their students to take that evaluation. The other item, bookstores expanding pilot. I know that Kyle DeBrito and his team is working very heavily with academic affairs and faculty members to identify digital or e-textbooks. So the difference with this particular pilot is specific to, you know, what a faculty member wants in terms of their course materials and textbooks, as well as the disciplines. I know it's a discipline kind of led decision as well, and has to be, of course, connected to the 335 form. All that is key in this process. But we're, of course, making sure that we're always looking for ways to reduce costs for students. We recognize that, you know, costs are getting higher every year. This includes textbook costs and other materials. And sometimes for online students, these materials are even more so. So it's really great that, you know, they're doing this college-wide, the digital kind of textbooks for students. We've been doing it for the past 3 semesters, and they're just looking to expand this pilot. It is based on kind of CRN, and there's a fee associated with it. I've been talking with our admin team about making sure that that information is updated and clear for students when they get ready to register, because that all has to be solidified and connected to the course. So that is another helpful thing for students. It makes it easier and doesn't have to cause them to kind of go and make an additional purchase at the bookstore, because it's all part of that course, and it's a one-shot kind of deal. Students can opt out of that if they wish to have a loose leaf, and they can have both if they wish to. There are some options for students. Sometimes we just like to have that physical hard copy. Everyone's preference is really different, but at least we're kind of offering these options for students. So students can purchase, again, a loose leaf, or utilize a digital, and it's around $26 to, I would say $26 to $27 to about $54 there. Some other things I wanted to mention, so I guess it was in terms of the Cengage Unlimited Digital Pilot Program. It is a subscription-based kind of program similar to Netflix, where students can kind of pay for a term or for a year. And those costs range from anywhere from $120 to $239 for a 2-year term. There's also a 1-year as well. So allow students to, of course, if they're using Cengage products in their classes, to be able to acquire those course materials, not have to pay for each text and each piece of material that they might need for access codes related. And many more face-to-face classes are utilizing the same type of thing. But again, it is faculty driven and decided on upon that in terms of these different course materials and the options available for students. But again, just looking to reduce costs for students, to help students save a little bit of money. And students, again, do have some options related to that. So another part of course materials relate to some of our classes are hefty in terms of cost, in terms of not just the textbook, but other course materials such as a lab kit, or for our PE classes, a Fitbit. So this semester, we're trying to make things a little easier for students. This was kind of actually born from the VLSAC when I advised that organization. We allow students to be able to submit forms for reimbursement, to be able to acquire, to make costs equitable in terms of what their on-campus counterparts would pay. So there was much more of a paperwork process. It was a manual process also, but we were able to, I think this past year, make it a lot easier on, not as taxing on any of the departments and on students, because they'd have to remember to actually fill out the information and supply a variety of pieces of information in order for them to get a reimbursement. The reimbursement would happen at the end of the semester, after they've completed the class. And also we had to have verification that they were still in the class, that they had a receipt. They had to fill out a form as well, giving us some information so that we could reimburse them on the back end. This year, they're getting immediate reimbursement on the front end, not really even reimbursement. This actually is notated in the bookstore, online, and when they go into the campus to purchase these items, again, they have to do it at our bookstore in order to acquire this benefit that these resources are free for students. So the specific classes that I mentioned, PE 183, 184 require that Fitbit. Students can go in and see exactly that it's no cost to them and how this program has kind of allowed them to be able to get this item for free. So giving credit to the student organization, as well as the partnership that has been created within academic affairs through the academic success technologies area. So that's a unique partnership now that exists, that has kind of transitioned as I moved into this interim position. So that the Fitbits are kind of, again, free for students. There's also a kit as well for Chemistry 100, a kit for biology, and a rock kit also for Geology 201. If these students get these materials either online or at the bookstore, they do not have to pay anything for that, for those costs. And these are classes that are specific to being higher in cost for students in comparison to their on-campus counterparts again. So we want to make sure we're maintaining that equity in the process for online students. So another hot item right now, final grades. So that is kind of coming up here at the end of the semester. It always can cause a little bit of challenges for faculty, and rightfully so. Sometimes the system, system's not perfect, but we work within what we have. So this is all done through My Hack, but we're encouraging faculty to make sure they're meeting this deadline. Additional follow will be had if there's some type of error that's associated with going in to record those grades. Some tips I think I could offer is that when you're in the system, you have to make sure you're recording a last date of attendance, and indicating a 2-digit month, day, and 4-digit year. Hitting the submit button and seeing if there's any errors. Sometimes faculty don't think that everything has been solidified, but then their grades may not have been received, so it might boot out everyone's grades for the entire course or CRN. So there's always some type of glitches that might occur, but we do our best to communicate with faculty to let them know in advance that, hey, there's grades still open. If you receive multiple communications, that's for a reason, because there might have been something wrong in the system and your grades weren't assessed or recorded properly, and so that may cause you to have to kind of double and triple check to make sure. I've heard from faculty sometimes they receive confirmation emails that it's been completed, and sometimes they don't. So it's just you just kind of have to verify and double check and just triple check to make sure they have been submitted. So this is always kind of a challenging process at the end of the semester, but we really try to do a really good job of communicating if there's still outstanding grades that need to be entered. For most classes, for certain parts of terms, that begins on December 7th and it goes through December 18th. And the reason why this is so critical to have this solidified, particularly for students who are graduating in December, the records office and other areas, the graduation area needs to make sure that those things are wrapped up and those grades are solidified, because there's a short window in terms of graduation and making sure students have what they need to be able to walk. So that, again, just impacts other processes in other areas. So final grades are very important to make sure they're submitted on time and by noon on December 18th. I did have a few documents I can share, but I'll send those out via email just in the interest of time. There is a final grades document for each part of term that indicates the window in which those final grades are open. So I'll make sure I send that out. I typically don't do it for shorter parts of terms, and we only have very few classes in those different parts of terms, but really do it for heavy for the larger part of term, and do the communications for the other shorter parts of terms if there is a concern. So any questions just regarding some of these items? Probably one other thing while you're taking some time to type in your questions. One other thing I'll mention is the confirmation of attendance as well. This always kind of comes up depending on the part of term that instructors are teaching. It's important to make sure that we are confirming attendance for various reasons. And sometimes students wish to get back in. That really is a faculty decision. If you think the student can be successful in the class, we encourage you to work with them. But again, it is a faculty choice in terms of, whether or not you want to allow them back into the course. I find that many faculty are very flexible in that regard, especially if it's only a few days that students have not been able to attend. So usually that change of attendance status form is required to complete, and then it's submitted to enrollment services. There might also require a dean's signature depending on the nature of the change of attendance status that you're initiating for that student. And that change of attendance status form can be found in My Hack by searching the document.
Esmond, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
This is Lise Pauline. I have a question. I'm teaching a 7-week right now that wants a confirmation of attendance by Friday. So I have 4 students who kind of have probably not logged in yet. Maybe they're waiting till the weekend. I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about saying never attend, and then they try to go in Friday after the deadline, and then they're out of the class. I mean, should I just label them no attendance, and then if they need to get back in, I just fill the paperwork out all over again? I mean,
I think that's a great question, Lise Pauline, and one that has, because that's come up a lot. just be assured that we do send, again, Emily does a great job in sending out communications to students. I'm copied on them. They are reminded that they need to log in within a 48-hour time period. She does it for each part of term. So students need to understand that and if faculty send an email ahead of time saying, hey, this is, welcome to the course. Here's some expectations. Also, you'll need to make sure you're signing in by this date or you will be dropped. So that might be a tip that I would offer. Or after the course has already begun and, the students haven't logged in, you can reach out to them just like, a call or an email or both, because sometimes, one works better than the other, and just say, hey, I noticed you haven't logged in. Typically, it's only specific to a few students, as you mentioned before. Would you mind logging in? If all those things aren't done, I encourage you to still mark them as never attended. If they come back to you and say they wish to participate and you're okay with that, then you can utilize that change of attendance status form. I hope that helps.
Thank you. No, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking. It's a good question. So those are all the updates that I have. I don't know if there's any questions. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Hopefully I did a good job of explaining those things. Some of the new things that might be coming up, just really briefly, that we're working on, faculty searches right now for English and math. I'm working closely with Doreen, who's kind of leading this effort in terms of our proctoring services. She's formulated a committee that several people from tutoring and testing are part of this, from disability services, from D2L administrator, our administrator, a variety of faculty members are part of this committee, and we want to make sure that we're selecting the best testing proctoring service for our students, and of course keeping in mind costs that are associated with that process, because this continues to be an increase every year. So we're really looking at that this semester and trying to work with the procurement office and finance to make sure that we're moving forward most appropriately for offering proctoring services for students. Another thing that has come up is library services and the increased demand for student support in that area, and also for faculty to be embedded in courses. So I'll be working with the library services team to make sure that we are accommodating those requests and helping to retain students in that regard, because it is a huge retention tool for our students. It helps to just benefit them and support faculty as well. So that's kind of something else that's coming up, among a variety of other things, as Doreen shared. But they're just some things that maybe are specific in the academic affairs area that I wanted to share. Thank you again, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions, whether that be through email or the chat. I'll turn it back over to Doreen.
Thank you, Jasmine. Next, we have Michelle.
Hello, everybody. Mine is going to be very, very short. We have 17 classes. Since the retreat 2 weeks ago, we're still at 17 classes. It's a long, arduous process to develop courses online and with one instructional designer and part-time content expert. So, however, Josh texted me tonight and said that he will have the project management course ready to launch on November 5th. So that's good news. So we'll have 18 by November 5th. And I'm hoping to have Microsoft Office Word 2, parts 2 and 3 by the 15th or end of November. So hopefully by December we have double of what we had projected that we were going to have up and running. Now they're up there. We're still, the sales are slow. We had 2 sales this week, so that's yay. But they're trickling in. So hopefully we get more on that, and I'm working on the marketing on that. I do have some success stories that are not on the slide. We finished the first cohort of the first course in the Pharmacy Tech program. It's Pharmacy Practice. There were 8 students in it. 7 of the 8 completed it. 1 dropped off the face of the earth. Of the 7 that completed, 5 have moved on to the next course. One specifically said she was not going to continue. Don't know what happened to the other one. Workforce Development is reaching out to them. They have reached out to see what they're going to do. But I thought it was pretty good. 5 of the 8 are going to continue, and the next course is called Pharmacy Science, and it gets a little bit more quantitative and a little bit harder. But it's a pharmacy technician program. Another success story, we finished the first cohort of Introduction to Dentistry. We had 13 of 13 successfully complete the course. This is I want to highlight this as a model. This is a partnership that we have with the credit side of the house, with the dental hygiene program and the dental assisting program. if these students complete this workforce development training, and they go into either the hygiene or dental assistant program, they actually get 2 points towards their clinicals. So that does work for their credit courses. And then today I had a phone call from Sarah Ostlander, I think her name is. She is the new dental hygiene program director. She's already asking for one for spring, for the fall cohort. And we have 4 students on the waiting list for that. And by the way, we have 2 students on the project management waiting list. So we're putting them, when they're close to being launched, we put them up on the course catalog. We don't let them register, but there's a little tag down there. It says, register your interest into the program, and it comes into my inbox, and I file it away, and then we can contact students and let them know that the courses are ready to go. So we have 4 so far. So that's about all I have, unless you have questions, about workforce development online. I have one more thing I do want to mention. I'm working with workforce development to develop a process for course and program development in the SGP 711 and 712, and that's getting ready to go to the SGP committee on November 8th. That's been quite that's my first foray into crafting an SGP. There was absolutely nothing, almost nothing, in that SGP about course and program development for workforce development, so we're putting it in there. They're already doing it. We're just going to codify it and make it where they can find it. And then Josh and I are going to create a self-paced online tutorial to help them get through course and program development. They do it, but it's not, like I said, it's kind of haphazard. I don't want to, and I see something. Yes, please. Caroline asked if someone on the credit side has an idea for a course to be offered in workforce, do we contact you? Please do. And just to give you an idea, I had a meeting with Wendy Bertina next week. There's a course on trauma that is in the credit program that they haven't been able to run, and they kind of want to do something like the dentistry program, put it over on the workforce side, and then articulate it back. And we're in the preliminary discussions. I've had conversations with Nikki Ernst. I've had conversations with Rob Shanky. So, if there's something you think belongs in workforce, we're looking at doing some stuff with auctioneering on the workforce side. So, yes, please. And right now, I never say no. And I don't know if it'll work, but I never say no. We can at least have a conversation. But contact me. I can connect you to the right people over in workforce and see what we can do. So that's all I have right now. So unless there are any other questions. All right, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
I know Valerie's joining us this evening. You're online. I did want to highlight some of the upcoming site virtual learning offerings. Robert is doing a presentation on October 26th. Kathy and Aaron will be talking about autism in college on November 14th. We also have Linda doing a session on reading and writing developmental sequence, course by course. Julia Grace will be sharing about using Brightspace templates to add color and imagery to your homepage. I know Carrie just had one. Was it last week, this week? How did that go, Carrie? How did your site session go?
There we go. It took me a moment. It went very well. A lot more people than I expected showed up. I think we had 14 or maybe 15, and it was nice. I don't have the access to the video yet, but I think Valerie's putting that together. But it was a good turnout, and I got very positive feedback.
Excellent. Valerie, anything that I missed? Or?
No, that was a great update. Thanks, Doreen.
All right. Thank you. Just a friendly reminder about our CDI team and the great workshops that they're offering and support and assistance to you. So please check out their offerings. Also, another friendly reminder, Jennifer is available to help our faculty and then also our students. So please reach out to Jennifer if she could be of any support or assistance to you and our virtual learning students. And now we have VLFA. Do our executives have anything they want to share with the group? Go ahead, Carrie.
So I don't really have anything to share. We're going to have a meeting in a couple of weeks. There's been, I guess I do have a few things to share. There was a link to the VLFA Commons put on the HAC webpage, the MyHAC webpage that we had asked for. You'll find it in organizations where you see the faculty assemblies under virtual. So that is a follow-up item. If you go to the VLFA Commons, you will see the calendar is routinely updated. It also includes CDI as well as site items. And when Valerie distributes events, I stick them in there. So if you're wondering what's going on and you haven't kept up, just go to the VLFA Commons and the calendar's right there on the home page. And you'll see everything between CDI, site, and things that are going on in virtual. We have a few more things that have kind of come to closure, initiatives we've been working on, but I really want the people that have been working on those within the VLFA to announce those. So do attend our VLFA meetings. They're second Tuesdays of the month. And there is one late afternoon and one early evening to try to accommodate as many people as possible. And any breaking news, we'll have that.
Thank you. Oh, I'm excited that you have the VLFA Commons on the new MyHAC. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, now is an opportunity for our guests. We have Cindy and Carol. Cindy, you want to kind of go first? Please do. And your mic, unmute your, sorry.
Yeah, I did the video, not the mic. So
thank you.
I wanted to actually let Carol go first. We planned this before talking to you, that Carol has some information she wanted to make sure she got in there, and then I could open it up for more questions.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Carol.
Well, I'm pleased that Doreen invited me to be here tonight to answer any questions you may have about disability services for virtual learning faculty. I know when you're a virtual faculty, working with disability services can be more difficult, although I'm the official contact for our virtual students. Many of our students both go, of course, as you know, to campuses, and so they're also working with other disability services staff. And that means that oftentimes you're dealing with different people and different processes. We certainly want to make things as smooth and easy for you as we can when you have students with disabilities in our courses. As always, you know, one of our main concerns is that your courses are accessible. If you're using course software, please make sure you're investigating to be sure it's totally accessible to students. When you're putting materials out on your courses, make sure that you're using good practices to make them as readable as they can be. Of course, all videos need to be captioned. They're just some basic things to be aware of, but I'd like to answer any questions you might have about working with disability services.
So Carol, this is Doreen. As I mentioned earlier, we had a great conversation with you and your team, with many of our virtual learning staff. And I don't know if you want to share, and we're trying to build partnerships that students, we can help them be better prepared before they even register for a virtual learning class. Also, we talked about making sure that we work together so when a student that has a visual or hearing impairment in particular, that we are notified we recognize that they can drop ag classes, you know, at the same time as any other students, so they may add something at the kind of last opportunity to do so. But we do have a number of students that have visual and hearing impairments, and they are taking our virtual learning classes. In particular, we have a lovely student, and her mother is, correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, her mother is a lawyer, correct? And this is part of her specialty. Yeah. So, and this student, she's again an overachiever, I would say. She's definitely excels, and she's, you know, kindly been working with us. We have some challenges that we'll have to, again, work together. The student wants to take some math classes online, some of her science, you know, sciences, and again, making sure that she can take those courses as she so chooses. I know there was one course, unfortunately, that she dropped it because we needed more time to make sure the course was accessible for her, which she didn't have to do as a student. So that was, again, I'll say that was very kind of her to do that. So we are kind of working together, working to identify which courses she wishes to take at the institution over the next year, so that we can make sure that we have our courses accessible for her to take.
Right, and we try to do that with every student that we know about the courses early. You know, I've already reached out to faculty for next semester to talk about course design and the potential courses that the students have identified when they have a vision or hearing impairment. Yeah. So we do try to be very proactive there, but as you said, if a student adds a course the day before it starts, they have every right to do that. So, you know, we want to be as prepared as we can ahead of time.
Exactly. Yes, we do not want to be sued. That's the worst case scenario. But again, just doing our due diligence as educators, I think, for us to, again, make sure that any student who wishes to take our classes can do so. So I think that should be our first priority, not just so we don't get sued. That's always a good thing to avoid as well. All right. Any additional questions for Carol? So as we continue to work with Disability Services, we will share information with you. We are looking at some additional educational offerings for our faculty and our staff, and ways that, again, we can work together to make sure that our classes are accessible for all of our students. So, and I think the faculty, there's been some faculty this semester already that we contacted them. We worked together, identified if there were a few things in the class that weren't accessible. They stepped up, immediately got those done. If there were some things that they needed more time, we figured out how can we work together to either help them get those done or what can we do. So it's been a great collaboration. So I want to thank faculty as well for their willingness and their dedication as well to making sure their courses are accessible.
And Jason and his team have been fabulous in helping faculty to identify how to fix some of those problems as well.
Exactly. Thank you.
If anybody needs, you know, has questions or resources that they'd like to have, please feel free to email me or give me a call. I'm happy to work with you in finding anything you need to make your courses as accessible as they can be.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Carol.
Sure.
All right, Cindy.
So I just want to make sure Carol had time to talk about the resources that she has available. But I just am coming off of this road show, which some of you may have seen on campuses, which was a little different version than what was rolled out initially with virtual learning. But essentially it's an update on each of the areas at the college. In academic affairs, we're following up on the program review, and the degree requirement changes are already made by continuing to implement changes that were recommended as we're looking more closely at our academic programs and how well they are aligned with the career and transfer options for students. We're focusing very heavily, as you probably already also know, on developmental education and improving student success in our developmental courses, as well as accelerating pathways to college level classes. And we're doing a lot of work in workforce development. Michelle gave you a sort of snippet of tip of the iceberg in terms of the processes, but she's been leading the way valiantly with the curriculum, making sure their curriculum processes are in place and that they have recorded versions of their curriculum that are consistent instead of having to recreate everything every time a new class is offered, even if it was offered last year. And we're also refining processes in terms of reports and invoicing and some boring bureaucratic stuff that I can fill you in on if you're interested. The bottom line is, though, to look at the competencies in workforce classes and to see how they align with competencies in credit classes to make sure, again, we have additional pathways available for students where they are appropriate. So those are some of the key areas in academic affairs. Do you have any questions?
So Cindy, as you were doing the road shows, were there any kind of common questions that were asked of you about academic affairs, or any, kind of burning questions that they had at the campuses as you went around to each location?
Actually, I think I only got 2 questions. One was about the success rates in the developmental math pilot course, which I provided numbers for and can provide numbers for anyone who wants to know that it was 281 last year, and this year we've created the course Math 090, and the success was phenomenal. In that, out of the something like 200, so I'd have to look at my numbers, so don't quote me for sure, but something like 275 students who enrolled in 281 last year, over 50 made it through the entire developmental sequence. So that's really amazing. Over 200 made it at least one course advanced, and 170 something advanced at least 2 classes. So developmental math was a big success with this new pilot course. And the other question was about classroom technology on the Harrisburg campus.
So if you have a question for Cindy, please type it into the chat, or type into the chat that you have a question and I'll give you the mic, whatever you prefer, what you're more comfortable with. All right, you guys are quiet. Maybe because it's getting late already, that could be too. All right. Okay, we'll say going once, going twice.
I think everybody's had a lot of time. I don't think there's a lot of questions, so you're kind of off the hook. It's probably a good sign, I guess.
Well, thanks,
right.
Carrie.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Daugherty, and I'm going to go really quick so that everyone can enjoy the rest of their evening. So thank you, Carol. Thank you, Cindy. and we will continue the conversation. So thank you so much. Thanks, Carol. I see you're there.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, kind of next steps. We want to continue the great conversations that we had at the virtual learning retreat. Carrie has graciously, and I really need to applaud Carrie. So big thank you. She has been amazing, really leading us continuing to have conversations. Her kind of main mission coming into this academic year was community, and she's just already blown it out of the water as far as creating a way for us to have community, for us to have discussions together, for us to go to one place to find information, and she's always open to water cooler conversations. I will just continue to share that, taking that time to really get together. I enjoyed that we had great participation at the retreat, a lot of people online, a lot of people in person, and I want to continue that as many people as possible can join our conversations. We can't do this kind of independently. We really do need to collaborate and decide kind of our direction and where we're going collectively and as a community. So thank you for that. There's two quick surveys that I did share via email the other day. So 2 quick questions on the retreat reflections. So what did you like and what can we do better next time? And the top 5 strategic priorities. If you didn't complete that before the retreat, again, I need to hear your voice so that when I'm making the strategic plan, I know the direction that everyone is interested in going. So literally it takes 5 clicks. Pick 5 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks. You don't have to answer any of the other questions below if you so choose, and hit submit. So I appreciate your input. So we will continue those conversations. I will, have Carrie kind of keep me updated about if there's conversations or anything that I need to do to help move in that direction. I also shared an article about ASU. So I look forward to future opportunities to talk about that article. I shared what they're doing. Are there things that are other online organizations doing that you're interested in doing as well at HACC, or you can do it better, which I'm pretty sure you can do it better than they can. So what things are you interested in doing? As I mentioned, I will keep plugging. Please share with me highlights so I can share with everyone that I talk to how fabulous our faculty, staff, and students are. So next step, we have I am going to provide at least a draft or outline of the plan by November 15th. So I am dedicated to, I need to get it kind of outlined so you guys can start to see the direction so that we can have dialogue on that strategic plan collectively. Also at November 15th, Stephen Ampersand, our Vice President of Student Affairs, and Amber, who's our new Director for Enrollment Services, they're going to join us. Noel Levitz will be at HACC the 2 days prior. So the 13th and the 14th, Noel Levitz will be at the college talking about what direction we're going to be going, what additional support as far as enrollment services will be happening. Stephen's going to provide us with an update. So we'll get to hear, as soon as they leave, we're going to get to hear what the strategic vision is, what's going to be done with Noel Levitz, so that we can, again, work with them, get those things in place. As soon as we have some of those initiatives in place, then I think we're beginning to go into the direction that we can start marketing outside of the region our 100% online programs. We just want to make sure that our internal processes and procedures are ready so that we don't frustrate students. I don't want to have students that are outside of the region interested in taking our 100% online programs and that we say to them, you need to drive in for us to help you. So how do we get some of those things in place so we're not creating actually bad word of mouth about HACC and virtual learning and our ability to successfully enroll and onboard those students interested in our 100% online programs. And then November 28th, we'll have our next chat with guests. All right, my last thing here this evening, if you have anyone that is going to be graduating in our fall commencement and you would wish to highlight them at commencement, please share with me their name and some information about them so I can recommend and they can hopefully be highlighted, considered to be highlighted at our fall commencement coming up. All right, thank you as always. Just a friendly reminder about opportunities to support our students in their success. But thank you for joining this evening. I greatly appreciate your time and opportunity to chat with you and keep you updated on what's going on in virtual learning. So anything, I apologize, we're like 10 minutes over, and I try to make sure I'm respectful of your time. Anything else that anyone online would like to share? Any closing comments, closing thoughts, things you'd like to talk about, questions? All right.
Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to share and communicate, Doreen. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. And thank you once again to our guests, Cindy and Carol. I appreciate your time in joining us here for Virtual Learning Faculty and Staff Chat. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.